Well, welcome back. I didn't expect to be making this video so soon, but I've got a working GSX. Yeah, I came in this morning, pulled it to pieces. This panel here comes off, this panel here comes off and reveals the circuit board inside. At the back of the circuit board is a small 3 and a bit volt Varta type cell, and that's what keeps the memory intact. And I replaced it. So I put the new one in, put the thing back together, turned it on, and it worked. Sort of worked, because the display said, load software. I had a mild moment of panic, and then realised that I've got this laying about. And at the very back, there are a couple of floppy disks. And one of them says, operating software. So I popped it in, and I'd actually forgotten quite how long floppy drives used to take to load in stuff. But it loaded in fine. It made a few sort of slightly concerning whirs and bumps and buzzes. But no, it loaded in fine, and the usual screen came up. Now, one of the things on these LBXs and GSXs is that there is a little checking mode. So basically there's a utilities menu, and the utilities menu here gives you the option to run through everything that the control will do and either pass or fail each thing. So it comes up and it runs all the LEDs. If they light up when they should, you push pass. Then it asks you to raise the fader, lower the fader, and it goes through every single thing on the whole desk. And couple of oddities. It asked me to raise the C fader. Well, there's an A and a B. There isn't a C on this desk. And I presume that's just because the software doesn't know that it's a GSX, really. It's the operating system covers this and the bigger one. So everything worked there. One fader failed. Everything else was okay. Submaster 1 won't go off. It goes down to about 3. Which if you've stuck something on the screen then gives you a load of sort of garbage, which is a bit sad. But everything goes up and down exactly as it should. Screen display is very similar to the one that's on the ETC Express. A bit more use of colour. Some of the colours make a bit of sense too. So if you've put things into queues, I mean, if I go Q0 on these is always a blackout. So if I push go, things are coming up. There we are, that's the first one. Press the next one, that'll go down. So which is what we were doing on the other one. Differences, well, the syntax is reversed. So on here, if you want to record something into queues or subs, you actually type in Q1, hit the record button. So usually, well, actually on quite a lot of controls, you'd push record 2 and it will record. On this one, you've got to tell it in advance it's going to be a queue. Then you hit record as the last step. That works perfectly fine. It does have rem dim, remainder dim. Strand have been putting that feature on lighting controls ever since sort of the era of Betty, you know, our rather nice elderly console that was designed back in the 50s. But remainder dim works quite nicely. So in actual fact, I mean, let's just put a few things in. 10. It doesn't have a full button, it has an on button. So channel 10 is on. Let's put a few other things in. 15 through 20. And then we can use the golf ball to bring them up. If I bring them up to about 50, something like that. Let's try something else. Let's just put a few cues in. 40 plus 50, and I'll push on. They pop up. So that's all right. Now, we can record that. I mean, let's record it as a cue. Q6, record. Q6 is in there with a 5-second timer. You can go up on top of here to the display, press that one. That's the contents of our queues. So if you want to navigate to that Q6, let's go down and we'll say Q6. Let's give it an uptime of 0, and we'll have a downtime, the other queues to go out, of 10. Yeah, that works. The star button here sort of functions as an enter button. So in this particular case now in our queue stack, you can see we've got most of them are set for a 5 up and a 5 down, but they can all be split times. The usual things that Strand like to have, other manufacturers do the same thing. The wait time. So wait time is the time the queue fires after you've set the go button in action. So if you actually had a queue that is not supposed to run for 5 seconds, you could put a 5-second time in the wait. It will then hang about while it's thinking, then it will run the queue. It's not used particularly often, I don't think, but it comes in handy if your queue needs to go a certain time after the DSM has called the GO. So that sort of works. If you want, you can also chain queues together. So you can link 2 queues. You can say the minute you've finished queue number 4, go and do queue number 5. It'll let you do that. That's pretty good. It's also got a display of the subs. So you can actually see what the subs are doing. And if you want to, you can make a sub have a time. So when you shove the fader up, even if you push the fader really fast, the thing will fade in. So it's a little bit more versatile than I've discovered the Express could do. Probably why I quite like this. But this doesn't have any facility for moving lights. If you want to try and use moving lights, well, then you've just got to set them on a channel by channel basis. And of course that messes up when you sort of crossfade from one to the other, because the light won't dim out or something. You know, if the pan and tilt also start to go down, it's going to wander off. So you'd have to be a little bit creative with your programming if you want to do that. It's not really designed for moving lights of any kind. Probably manage things like RGB lights reasonably well if you're just a bit cautious, but it's not really what it's designed for. But all in all, it's rather nice. The screen at the top, if you look carefully, the Grandmaster, the sort of fader level is always indicated on the screen up there. Same thing, the thing that's still highlighted in red, I've still got control of. It doesn't have a huge number of queues. I mean, it's got 194 available now. The software I've loaded it with the full 125, which was its maximum. So it's got 125 possible channels. There is a patch, so you can change 1 to be something else and 3 to be something else if you need to do that. A lot of people used to do that when they were... used to do it at my old theatre, when we'd robbed stage circuits to do front of house. So we sort of changed the patch so that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 were all front of house, despite the fact that in actual fact channel 10 was probably running from channel 34 or something like that. It just made life a little bit easier to group stuff together and not have to remember that there were a few that were out of sequence. So all in all, well, the GSX is a goer. Doesn't have the feature that the ETC's got, where you can have channels on the top, subs on the bottom. There's no facility on here for those faders doing anything apart from submasters. They can't be switched to do other things. I mean, obviously what a lot of people would do was set up the subs on a 1-to-1 basis. So if you push sub 1's fader, channel 1 will go up. If you've only got a limited number of dimmers, well, that worked okay, really. But it does mean you lose out on the submasters. It doesn't have, as the ETC has, multiple pages that you can scroll through. What you see is pretty much what you get. Other things, well, you know, there's a blackout button. It's not really worth talking about, is it? Because when you press it, a blackout happens. you could do effects and things, but that relies on the operating system is on that floppy. This one has got the application software in. There was a thing called Kaleidoscope, which gave you lots more flashy things. The console, as it stands at the moment, doesn't really have, well, at the moment it's not doing anything at all, but the basic features that if you didn't pay extra were a bit limited in terms of effects. But Kaleidoscope gave you a lot more. But of course, you paid more money for it, which was a bit of a shame. What else can I tell you? Well, I mean, there's the crossfade there. Goes from the A1 to the B1. So you could do manual stuff if you want to. So if you wanted to do things where a fade out was slow and a fade in was quick, but having two separate faders, which the ETC has as well, of course, will let you do things like that. All in all, it is pretty basic. And although the clever software also gave you access to MIDI, which let you flash the lights in time with the music, the software that I've loaded in here doesn't let me use the MIDI functions at all. I haven't tried the application software because I'm pretty certain it will definitely ask me for a serial number if I try and do that, and I haven't got it. I hoped it was someone had scribbled it in here, but they haven't. So there we go. The Strand GSX. Which would I use? This one or the Express that we looked at yesterday? Well, despite having fond memories of this, I think I have to say I'd use the Express. My fond memories are not quite as good in reality when I look back at it now. I think I prefer the ETC. I never thought I'd say that. Anyway, I'll see you on the next video. Look after yourselves. Take care.